Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you sincerely for joining us today. I am Steve Rogers, the CEO of Right People, Right Job, and a registered WASA service provider and ambassador. We ask that you use the chat functionality to raise your questions, share your thoughts, and to make comments. We will respond to all of your questions individually at the end, and I encourage you to engage as we go along, because this session is far more productive and valuable if it becomes a conversation. And obviously, not just a presentation. Our first speaker for today is Professor Habia Klopper. Professor Klopper is an accomplished higher education leader with more than 30 years of experience and has held senior leadership positions at institutions including the University of Johannesburg, Monash University, South Africa, Da Vinci Institute, the Belgium campus IT-versity, where he serves as the academic head. A prolific researcher, author, and advisor, he has contributed extensively to academic scholarship while helping organizations to build agile, innovative, and learning-oriented cultures. He serves on several academic and industry boards and is passionate about advancing education, leadership, innovation, and human development. Professor Klopper, did you successfully manage to join us?
Unfortunately not, Steve. Prof. Klopper has an urgent matter to attend to, so he apologized for not being able to attend. He asked me if I could take care of his section. So I'll be presenting on his behalf. Apologies once again, everybody. So I'm going to take control, Steve. My name is Farnes Engelbrecht. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of WASA, and I will be taking care of Prof. Klopper's presentation today. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Whether you are an executive, HR leader, wellness practitioner, academic, service provider, or policymaker, today's discussion is highly relevant. We are living in a time of unprecedented organizational change. Organizations have more technology, data, automation, and artificial intelligence than ever before. Yet, many are simultaneously experiencing rising burnout, mental health challenges, disengagement, leadership fatigue, customer dissatisfaction, and declining trust. In many respects, organizations have become technologically stronger while becoming socially more vulnerable. This raises an important question. If organizations are investing more in wellness than ever before, why do many of these challenges continue to grow? Perhaps the issue is not that wellness is failing. Perhaps we have been viewing wellness too narrowly. Traditionally, wellness has been treated as an employee issue managed through programs and benefits. The framework we introduce today proposes a broader perspective. It suggests that wellness is an organizational issue and an ecosystem issue. Employee well-being, leadership effectiveness, organizational culture, customer trust, and community impact are all interconnected. When one part of the system weakens, the effects are often felt throughout the organization. Today, we are introducing the workplace wellness ecosystem and the four-wheel framework for sustainable organizational performance. At the same time, we are launching the first phase of a broader research program aimed at understanding organizational wellness across Africa and building an evidence base for healthier, more sustainable organizations. Our objective is not simply to discuss wellness programs. It is to explore how wellness can become a strategic governance discipline, one that strengthens resilience, sustainability, trust, and long-term value creation. Because the organizations most likely to thrive in the future will not simply be the most efficient. They will be the healthiest, the most trusted, and the most resilient. Let's examine how workplace wellness has traditionally been approached. For many years, wellness was viewed mainly as an HR responsibility, focused on employee assistance programs, wellness days, health screenings, fitness initiatives, and stress management workshops. These interventions are valuable, and they often provide meaningful support. However, they do not always address the root causes of organizational challenges. Consider burnout. Many organizations respond with resilience training, mindfulness programs, or counseling. While these may help employees cope, they may not resolve the underlying causes. If burnout is being created by excessive workloads, poor leadership, unrealistic expectations, constant change, or unhealthy workplace cultures, the key insight is this. Employee well-being cannot be separated from organizational well-being. A healthy employee working within an unhealthy system will eventually be affected by that system. Many wellness challenges are systemic rather than individual, and when the problem is systemic, the solution cannot focus only on individuals. Instead of asking, what wellness programs do we offer? Leaders should ask, what organizational conditions are creating these outcomes? This shifts the conversation from program-based wellness to systems-based wellness, from treating systems to addressing causes. Sustainable wellness is not created by programs alone. It is created by healthy organizational systems. Before we continue, it is important to understand where this framework comes from. The four-wheel framework is not a standalone wellness model. It draws on several established disciplines and integrates them into a single organizational wellness architecture. Employee wellness is informed by positive psychology, occupational health psychology, and human capital theory. Company wellness is grounded in systems theory, organizational health, and corporate governance. Customer wellness draws on relationship marketing, brand equity, and customer lifetime value. And finally, community wellness is informed by stakeholder theory, shared value, ESG principles, and sustainability thinking. The contribution of WASA is not the creation of these concepts. It is their integration into a practical organizational framework. The key message is simple. Sustainable organizational performance is rarely achieved through excellence in one area alone. It is achieved through balance across the entire ecosystem. One of the risks with any new framework is assuming it provides all the answers. This is not our intention. The four-wheel framework should be viewed as the beginning of a research journey, not the final destination. Today, we are launching not only a framework, but also a research program. A program aimed at building a deeper understanding of organizational wellness across Southern Africa. The framework provides the conceptual architecture, but it must be tested, refined, challenged, and validated through evidence. Ultimately, this process will support the development of the Workplace Wellness Index, a recognition framework based on measurable evidence rather than intentions alone. The roadmap moves from concept, measurement, validation, benchmarking, recognition, and we invite you to be part of that journey, because the future of organizational wellness will be built through collaboration, learning, and shared evidence across the entire ecosystem. One of WAS's key objectives is to elevate wellness from an operational issue to a governance issue. Historically, wellness was often delegated to HR, while boards focused on finance, compliance, risk, and strategy. That environment has changed. Today, boards are expected to oversee culture, ESG performance, stakeholder trust, human capital, sustainability, ethical leadership, and resilience. As a result, the traditional board level question, do we have wellness programs, is no longer sufficient. A more important question is our organization healthy enough to sustain value creation over time? This shifts the focus from activities to organizational capability. It encourages leaders to consider, how healthy is our culture? How resilient are our people? How much trust exists inside and outside the organization? How sustainable are our systems and practices? How prepared are we for future disruption? We're looking at AI, for instance. These are not simply wellness questions. They are leadership questions, governance questions, sustainability questions. Financial statements tell us where we have been. Organizational wellness, on the other hand, tells us where we are likely to go. Trust, culture, resilience, and capability rarely fail overnight. They weaken gradually over time. By measuring organizational wellness, leaders can identify emerging risks before they become a crisis. That is why wellness increasingly belongs in the boardroom, not as a well-being initiative, but as a strategic governance discipline that supports resilience, sustainability, and long-term value creation. At the center of today's discussion is the workplace wellness ecosystem. The framework proposes that organizations should not be viewed simply as collections of departments, policies, or programs. Instead, they should be seen as living systems. In short, organizations are ecosystems. Within this ecosystem, the four-wheel framework identifies four interconnected stakeholder systems: employee wellness, company wellness, customer wellness, and community wellness. Each wheel is important, but the real value lies in understanding how they interact. And the opposite is also true. Healthy leadership supports healthy systems. Healthy systems enable employees to perform at their best. Positive employee experiences lead to better customer experiences, stronger trust, and stronger community relationships. The key insight is this: no wheel operates independently. Every wheel influences every other wheel. This is why isolated wellness interventions often fail. They attempt to solve ecosystem challenges in isolation rather than addressing the broader system. The four-wheel framework encourages leaders to step back, see the organization as a whole, and understand the connections between people, systems, customers, and communities. Because when the ecosystem thrives, people thrive, customers thrive, communities thrive, and organizations thrive. Thank you, and back to Steve.
Thanks, Vanus. Thank you for stepping in. I did notice that you looked very different to Professor Klopper. Right, thank you. Our next speaker is Keshni Marti, who is a South African wellness specialist, counselor, and transformational learning practitioner with extensive experience in holistic health, leadership development, and end-of-life care. She is the founder and managing director of the Wellness Specialist and serves in a leadership role with ASCHP, contributing to the advancement of professional wellness practice. Her work spans corporate wellness, coaching, and training with a strong focus on integrating well-being into workplaces and communities. Keshni is also a recognized thought leader, award-winning coach, and founder of the End-of-Life Supportive Alliance, where she champions compassionate, non-medical support and training in palliative care. And judging by all the hearts and thumbs up coming up through the presentation, obviously a well-loved colleague. Keshni, over to you.
Thanks so much, Steve, and hello, everybody. It is wonderful to see you all today. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the Employee Wellness Wheel, which is the first wheel of the workplace wellness ecosystem. Now, this is where most workplace wellness conversations begin, right? Because people remain the primary source of organizational capability, innovation, service delivery, and performance. Every strategy, customer experience, and organizational outcome depends on the people. However, employee wellness is often viewed way too narrowly, and it's reduced to physical health initiatives or even isolated well-being programs. The WASA framework recognizes that employee wellness is broader, and it reflects the overall experiences of being a human being within an organization. Because of this, we consider 8 dimensions of employee wellness: physical wellness, mental and emotional wellness, social wellness, financial wellness, spiritual wellness, occupational wellness, environmental wellness, and intellectual wellness. Each of these dimensions contributes to an employee's ability to not just perform and grow, but also to thrive. Importantly, these dimensions are also interconnected. So we know that challenges in one area often affects others. And I'm going to give you an example. So financial stress can contribute to emotional strain, which can affect physical health. We know that physical health can affect performance, engagement, and even workplace relationships. Human beings, we don't experience wellness as separate categories. We experience it as a whole. And this is why employee wellness cannot be reduced to just a single program, wellness day, or awareness campaign. It truly reflects the cumulative experiences of working within an organization. Because employees sit at the center of every organizational system, employee wellness remains the foundation of this entire ecosystem. Here's the thing. When people thrive, organizations benefit from greater energy, creativity, resilience, and commitment. So, employee wellness is therefore not simply about helping people feel better. It's actually about enabling people to contribute, to perform, and to flourish in ways that create sustainable value for both themselves as well as the organization. One of the key messages of this framework is that, sorry, I've gone to the wrong slide. 1 second. Is everyone seeing the right slide? Yes. Many organizations still view employee wellness as primarily a well-being issue. And the four-wheel framework, it challenges that view. So employee wellness is not only a well-being issue, it's also a business issue. The health of an organization becomes inseparable from the health of its people. Let's take a moment to consider the outcomes influenced by employee wellness. Things like productivity, as you can see on the screen, engagement, innovation, customer service, retention, ethics, and of course, resilience. These are not merely HR outcomes. They are business outcomes that directly influence organizational performance as well as sustainability. So we know that when employees experience ongoing strain, the impact often develops gradually. For example, decision-making may start to weaken. Creativity may decline. Maybe collaboration suffers, and eventually customer interactions may also start to deteriorate. Over time, what begins as a human challenge becomes a business challenge. This is why leading organizations are increasingly beginning to view wellness as an investment rather than a cost. Healthy employees are generally more engaged, they are more adaptable, they're more innovative, and they are more resilient. So they're better equipped to navigate change, which we know is going to happen, and to contribute to the sustainable performance overall. On the other side, poor employee well-being creates hidden organizational risk. There's no individual out there that can perform at their best indefinitely while carrying excessive stress and pressure. So organizations, we know, they routinely manage financial, operational, and compliance risk. The real question is, how many are actively managing human sustainability risk? One of the key messages of this framework is that wellness is not a soft issue and it's not an optional benefit. It is a strategic capability. Organizations that invest intentionally in human sustainability are more likely to build resilient and high-performing workplaces. Because sustainable organizations are built by sustainable people. Thank you for listening, and back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Keshni. I thought you had decided to start a different presentation. I was a bit worried for a second. Okay, great. Okay, our next speaker is Nozuko Shlefana. She is conducting doctoral studies in business leadership with extensive experience in organizational effectiveness, transformation, talent, culture, and change management across industries, including mining, government, consulting, and chemicals. She has held senior specialist roles at organizations such as the South African Revenue Service, Anglo-American Platinum, and Sasol, and has worked closely with executive leadership teams and boards for more than 12 years. Passionate about unlocking human potential, Nozuko applies systems thinking and evidence-based coaching to help leaders and teams achieve sustainable performance and organizational effectiveness. She is the founder of her own coaching practice dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to realize their full potential. Nozuko, over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. My topic, I'm going to be covering company wellness. If employee wellness helps us understand how people experience an organization, then company wellness helps us understand why those experiences exist. This may be one of the most important, least understood dimensions of organizational wellness. Many organizations respond to wellness challenges by focusing on individuals through counseling, resilience training, well-being programs, and employee support initiatives. While these interventions are valuable, they often address symptoms rather than root causes. The four-wheel framework suggests that many wellness challenges originate within the organizational system itself. Every organization has a human operating system made up of leadership behaviors, governance structures, culture, policies, processes, incentives, and decision-making practices. Together, these elements create the environment in which people either thrive or struggle. Consider two organizations with similar talent, resources, and benefits. One experiences high engagement and strong performance, while the other experiences burnout, mistrust, and poor morale. The difference is often not the people, it is the system. This shifts the conversation from asking, how do we fix our people, to asking, what is it about our organization that is producing these outcomes? Company wellness focuses on 8 dimensions of organizational health. Leadership and ethical governance is one, psychological safety and fairness, financial sustainability and stewardship, long-term strategic orientation, organizational culture, performance enablement, change and innovation capability, systems and process maturity. These dimensions influence whether employees thrive, customers are served effectively, and organizations can adapt successfully to change. An unhealthy organization can drain every highly resilient employee, while a healthy organization enables employees to perform at their best. Company wellness is therefore not simply a wellness issue. It is a leadership issue, a governance issue, and ultimately a sustainability issue, because sustainable organizations are built on health systems that enable sustainable performance. One of the greatest mistakes organizations make is confusing symptoms with causes. When turnover increases, organizations often blame the labor market. When customer complaints rise, they may blame frontline employees. When innovation slows, they may assume employees are disengaged. However, many visible problems are actually symptoms of a deeper organizational issue. The four-wheel framework encourages leaders to look beyond the symptoms and examine the system. For example, high turnover may reflect poor leadership, weak culture, limited growth opportunities, or a lack of psychological safety. Burnout may result from unrealistic workloads, poor resource allocation, or constant organizational change. Customer complaints may stem from inefficient processes, internal silos, or employee fatigue. Ethics failures may be driven by poorly designed incentives. Resistance to change may simply be change fatigue. The common theme is that these are often not people problems, they are systems problems. This distinction matters because people People problems and systems problems require different solutions. If we misdiagnose the cause, we often implement the wrong intervention. Instead of asking, why are people leaving? Leaders should ask, what organizational conditions are causing people to leave? Instead of asking, why are customers unhappy? They should ask, what systems are creating poor customer experience? The quality of the question determines the quality of the solution. This shifts from blame to diagnosis and is one of the most important contributions to the four-wheel framework. Healthy systems tend to produce healthy outcomes, better culture, stronger performance, healthier relationships, and greater resilience. The challenge for leaders is therefore not simply to manage performance, but to design systems that enable sustainable performance. Because when organizations get the system right, many of the systems begin to improve naturally. And this is where true organizational well-being begins. Thank you so much for your time, and back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Mizuko. Cool. Right. I would like to introduce Chris Late. Chris is a corporate wellness specialist and Chief Executive Officer of the Workplace Wellness Association of Southern Africa, otherwise known as WASA. With deep experience in workplace health and organizational development, Chris co-founded WASA to address the gap in formal industry representation for workplace wellness in the region. Under his leadership, WASA has become a platform for research, standards, education, and advocacy that connects employers, service providers, and stakeholders committed to healthy organizations and sustainable performance. His work aims to elevate wellness from operational programs to strategic governance practice. Chris, over to you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Right. So the third wheel of the workplace wellness ecosystem is customer wellness. Every organization exists because it serves customers. Without customers, there's no revenue. And without revenue, there's no organization. Yes, while most organizations measure customer satisfaction, far fewer consider customer wellness. And the difference is quite important. Customer satisfaction focuses on individual transactions, while customer wellness focuses on the quality of long-term relationships. A key question: does organizations leave customers better off because they engaged with it? When organizations are transparent, responsive, trustworthy, and genuinely committed to help customers succeed, they build trust, loyalty, and advocacy. Conversely, poor communication, complexity, broken promises, and frustrating experiences weaken trust and damages relationships. Customer wellness, therefore, is much more than products and services. It is about the quality of the relationship between the organization and its customers. The four-wheel framework identifies four key dimensions of customer wellness: product and service quality, customer support, trust and transparency, accessibility, and inclusion. Together, these dimensions determine whether customers experience the organization as a trusted partner or a source of frustration. Customer wellness is also important because it reflects the quality of the organization's internal systems. Employees cannot consistently deliver exceptional customer experiences if they are working within an unhealthy organizational environment. In many respects, customers experience the consequences of leadership decisions before leadership even does. For this reason, customer wellness serves as a valuable indicator of organizational health. It helps leaders understand whether their systems, culture, and leadership practices are creating trust and value, or creating friction and dissatisfaction. Customer wellness, therefore, is not simply customer service. It is a strategic indicator of organizational sustainability and long-term success. Customer wellness is about a lot of things, and it's obviously about achieving high satisfaction scores. But it's also about creating sustainable value for customers within the organization and that long-term relationship that we just mentioned. These three concepts explain why customer wellness matters strategically: trust, brand equity, and customer lifetime value. Let's start with trust. Trust is one of the most valuable assets an organization can possess. It reduces friction, strengthens loyalty, encourages advocacy, and helps organizations navigate uncertainty more effectively. The old saying that trust is hard won and easily lost comes to mind. But when trust is present, relationships becomes easier. When trust is absent, every interaction becomes difficult and costly. Trust is therefore not simply a customer outcome, it's a strategic asset. The second concept, brand equity. Many organizations believe brands are built through marketing and advertising. While these create awareness, brand equity is ultimately created through the customer experience. Customers remember that promises were kept, where the service was consistent, where the trust was justified. Brand equity is the accumulated result of positive experiences over the years. And the third concept, customer lifetime value. Sustainable growth is not driven only by acquiring new customers. It's driven by retaining customers through strong long-term relationships. Acquisition, satisfaction, and retention culminates into a long-term customer value. The relationship is straightforward. Trust builds brand equity. Brand equity strengthens customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value supports sustainable organizational performance. That is why customer wellness should be viewed as a strategic asset, a source of competitive advantage, and an important contributor to long-term organizational sustainability. Thank you, and back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Chris. Our next speaker is Dr. Shamal Ramasar. He is a medical scientist and researcher with qualifications including a PhD in physiology, whose work has been widely published in areas such as hypertension, preeclampsia, phytotherapy, and infection prevention. He has held academic and research positions at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and the University of Johannesburg, where he lectured physiology and anatomy. Dr. Ramasar has also served in senior leadership roles within the healthcare sector, including Scientific Affairs Manager and National Sales Manager at 3M Healthcare. He's also been Chief Medical Officer at the Augustine Medical South Africa. He currently serves as Head of Research for the Drinks Federation of South Africa and is Chairman of Mediation in Motion Mediators. Dr. Ramasa, over to you.
Thank you, Steve, for the introduction, and a very good afternoon to all of the colleagues that have joined us for this webinar. So I'm going to talk to you about the fourth wheel of the workplace wellness ecosystem, and that is community wellness. So this dimension actually asks a fundamental question. How does the organization impact the wider systems that enable its success? So traditionally, community engagement was often viewed as corporate social responsibility, something separate from the core business itself. Today, that perspective is changing. Communities, regulators, investors, governments, and even other stakeholders increasingly influence organizational success. Trust, reputation, and legitimacy have become strategic assets. Organizations do not operate in isolation. They actually depend on communities, infrastructure, education systems, public institutions, natural resources, and most importantly, stakeholder trust. When these systems weaken, organizational sustainability is eventually affected. Community wellness recognizes that the health of an organization is closely linked to the health of the systems around it. For this reason, the framework examines environmental stewardship, social responsibility, community engagement, shared value creation, philanthropy, stakeholder trust, sustainability, and employee citizenship. Together, these dimensions help organizations assess whether they are strengthening or weakening the communities and systems they depend upon. This shifts the conversation from asking, what do we give back, to now asking, are we strengthening the systems that support our future success? That is a significant change in perspective. It moves from the focus from charity to stewardship, and from isolated projects to long-term impact. This idea resonates strongly within the African context, where the principle of interconnected well-being has long been recognized through concepts such as Ubuntu. Community wellness reflects the understanding that sustainable organizations help create sustainable communities, and sustainable communities help create sustainable organizations. For that reason, community wellness is not simply a social responsibility issue. It's a stewardship issue, and ultimately a board-level responsibility. Because organizations that strengthen the systems around them are far more likely to achieve long-term sustainability and success. So community wellness is often it tends to go unnoticed when it is strong, but its absence becomes quickly visible, right? Think about organizations that have faced environmental controversies, labor disputes, community protests, regulatory intervention, and reputational crises. These events often appear sudden, but they usually develop over time as trust weakens. Stakeholder concerns are ignored and relationships deteriorate. Eventually, the consequences become impossible to ignore. That is why community wellness matters. It helps organizations identify risks before they become crises, before they become headlines, before they damage trust, reputation, or sustainability. Community wellness therefore influences reputation, ESG performance, stakeholder trust, regulatory relationships, social license to operate, long-term sustainability. And increasingly, investors, regulators, customers, and community are asking organizations how they create value, manage risks, engage stakeholders, and contribute to society. These questions are no longer peripheral. They are becoming central to organizational legitimacy. Legitimacy is one of the most valuable assets an organization can possess. Boards that issues often find themselves after trust has already been damaged. By contrast, organizations that engage proactively trust, credibility, and stakeholder confidence. Trust compounds, reputation compounds, relationships. Well, therefore, not simply a charitable event. As you know,
Shamal,
as it- yes,
Shamal, sorry, we're losing your connection. Maybe if we try with your camera off and let's see if we make progress.
sure, I'm about to finish in brief.
Thanks.
So, community wellness, therefore, not simply a charitable investment. It's an investment in organizational legitimacy, stakeholder trust, and the organization's ability to create sustainability, sustainable value over the long term. That's it from me. I'd to now hand back to Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramasar. We've now explored each of the four wheels individually. The real strength of the four-wheel framework lies in how they work together. Employee wellness influences customer experiences. Company wellness shapes employee well-being and organizational capability. Community wellness strengthens reputation and legitimacy. And customer wellness drives trust, loyalty, and sustainable revenue. These are not separate initiatives. They form one incoherent ecosystem. Leadership decisions create ripple effects. Healthy leadership builds healthy systems, engage employees, stronger customer relationships, and trusted communities. Poor leadership can create the opposite effect. The lesson is simple. Organizations cannot optimize one wheel while neglecting the others. Sustainable performance comes from managing balance across the entire ecosystem. When the ecosystem is healthy, people, customers, communities, and organizations all thrive. How do we know whether organizational wellness is improving? And the answer is measurement. The four-wheel framework measures organizational climate through the four wheels. There's 16 quadrants and 32 dimensions that it measures. The focus is not on counting wellness activities, but on measuring how employees, customers, and stakeholders actually experience the organization. Climate provides insight into leadership, trust, psychological safety, customer experience, community relationships, and resilience. Unlike financial results, climate is a leading indicator. It helps identify emerging risks before they become turnover, staff turnover that is, burnout, customer loss, or reputational damage. Think of it as preventative health care for the entire organization. The goal is better leadership, better decisions, healthier operational outcomes. So organizational wellness creates value. Why does organizational wellness matter? Because it creates sustainable value. Each wheel contributes something different. Employee wellness builds human capital. Company wellness builds organizational capital. Customer wellness builds trust, loyalty, and brand equity. Customer equity. Community wellness builds reputation and social license. Together, I do apologize. Together, these create sustainable organizational performance. The four-wheel framework is therefore more than a wellness model. It's a framework to create long-term organizational value. Healthy people, healthy systems, trusted relationships, and strong communities are foundations of lasting business success. Another way to view the framework is through the different forms of capital it creates. Employee wellness creates human capital. Company wellness creates organizational capital. Customer wellness creates relationship capital. And community wellness creates social capital. Each contributes to the organization's success, but their greatest value comes when they work together. The four-wheel framework helps organizations intentionally build these strategic assets. Financial capital may fund an organization, but people enable it. Systems strengthen it. Relationships grow it. And social trust protects it. Together, these create sustainable organizational value. WASA believes organizations should be recognized, not only for what they achieved, but for how they achieved it. Today's stakeholders expect organizations to invest in people, build trust, and create sustainable value. That is the thinking behind the human capital investor trademark. Those organizations that invest intentionally across all four wheels will qualify for this accolade. Instead of asking how little can we spend on wellness, human capital investors ask how effectively can we invest in people, resilience, and long-term value. The four-wheel framework provides measurable evidence of that commitment. The human capital investor recognition reflects leadership, stewardship, and balanced investment across entire organizations. WASA was established because workplace wellness lacked a coordinating body across Southern Africa. The challenge has never been lack of wellness activity. It has been the fragmentation thereof. WASA connects employers, service providers, researchers, and practitioners through common standards, research, assessments, education, accreditation pathways, and the human capital investor framework. Our role is not to replace providers. It is to align the ecosystem through shared language, shared measurement, and collaboration. Because lasting progress will only be achieved when organizations work together and build healthier people, healthier organizations, and healthier communities. As we then conclude, remember one important principle. You cannot improve what you do not understand. Every organization wants better engagement, stronger culture, greater trust, and sustainable performance. The journey begins by understanding your organizational climate. Establish a baseline, identify strengths and risks, and use evidence to guide improvement. Our recommended next steps are, firstly, to complete the workplace wellness climate study. Establish your baseline. Identify the ecosystem risks. Build an integrated wellness strategy. Join WASA. And pursue the human capital investor trademark journey. The future belongs to organizations that intentionally invest in healthy people, healthy systems, strong relationship, and resilient communities. As we then close, remember that long-term success depends on far more than financial capital. It depends on human capital, trust, relationship, social capital, and strong stakeholder relationships. The four-wheel framework encourages us to move beyond programs and towards systems, governance, and sustainable value creation. Healthy people, healthy systems, healthy relationships, healthy communities create healthy organizations. Within Africa, this reflects the philosophy of Ubuntu. Our well-being and success are interconnected. Let me leave you with one final thought. Wellness, when governed wisely, is not concession. It's a strategic advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation. Please scan the QR code with your cell phone, click on the link, and complete the Workplace Wellness Index questionnaire. It'll take approximately 5 minutes, and every person that complete the questionnaire will get a complimentary ebook on the four-wheel framework. So please do that, and I now invite you for questions and comments. Thank you, and back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, just a couple of questions from the chat. Tanzan from Santam. As an organization, we offer a holistic wellness program, but it is delivered by multiple service providers, which fragments the data and insights and makes it difficult to design an integrated program. Fair point. As an organization, how can I practically take my wellness program to the next level to create more meaningful engagement and impact on employee well-being? Chris, is that a question for you?
Yes, I'd be happy to answer that, and anybody else from the panel is most welcome. Keshni, you might be actually the best suited for that. But in essence, what WASA is working towards is that central database of workplace wellness information. And that's some of the value that there is, obviously, that's available to our members. But I really think strongly, start the journey with understanding where you are with regards to the current ecosystem, and contact us. You know, there's really so much you can do. A common code of conduct, a common commitment on service providers, giving you the information in an anonymous way. These are all tools that the employers have, but we'd love to work with you in terms of understanding exactly how one can leverage that. The great thing is you already have contributors and service providers, And yeah, maybe Keshni, if you'd like to just add something there from a service provider point of view.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So thank you for your question. I think it's a topic that organizations are struggling with. So the first thing, like Chris said, was, what is the strategy? We have annual training reports and workplace skills plans, but do we have a wellness strategy? And do we have wellness goals? And do we have well data that's honed in a place that speaks directly to the outcome of what we hope to achieve? So the people matrices is very important. If you currently have different service providers, are they all speaking to the same outcome and objective? And what role do they play in each of those? And then measurement tools and feedback loops are super important, not just when the intervention happens or the wellness intervention happens, but the rate of retention of that knowledge and the impact on the people, as well as the strategy and organizational productivity. So I think all of these factors play a role, and that all just stems back to how well is your wellness strategy. Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Keshni. Thanks, Chris. Another message from Tefo. Tefo asked the question, what metrics are considered acceptable in terms of customer satisfaction indices and employee engagement? How do we ensure sustainability and consistency of the 4 wellness perspectives?
Tefo, that's an excellent question. For honest myself, I tried to address many of those questions in the book. So please contribute to the wellness index. Obviously, the bigger the more information we can get into the index, the more valuable it's going to be to everybody. If you do contribute, you're going to get a book. But in short, there's various metric. Your net promoter score tend to be a very good early indicator. Or if you want to look at a high level in terms of customer satisfaction, and then there's for example, one of the things that I'm personally quite passionate about is if you do create a net promoter score for your customers, why not create it internal for the staff? Because we all know, and there's ample academic reference to that there's a very strong correlation between staff loyalty and customer loyalty. So there's something simple one can do, but yeah, there's creating consistency. That's probably a very challenging aspect, and we typically promote that don't try and do everything at once. Whether you want to implement the wheel over maybe 4 quarters or even 4 years, and see the change there. And I think that's also something very nice in terms of, as this index grows, that we can see where the natural balance is in terms of the consistency between the 4 perspectives. And we will definitely work on what can be done to bring the ecosystem into balance. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Chris. There's a comment from Faye. This is exciting. As someone who is a people development service provider to corporate leaders, I'm excited to be part of this journey. Thanks, Faye. Thanks for the comment. Haley also asked a question. If we work independently in private practice, but would like to become involved in workplace wellness, are we able to join WASA? I assume the answer is yes, but Chris, will you give us the answer?
Yes, please. If you have some time, please have a look at WASA. It's wasa.org.za, and then specifically go to service providers. You'll see the value proposition is placed there with the application form. It's not very expensive, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.
Thanks, Chris. A comment from Topsile. Thank you so much for an insightful presentation. I'm happy that you touched on holistic approach, including community wellness. It is true that one needs to understand that we cannot focus on one aspect in wellness, but understanding that when the organization is sick, there are high chances of finding employees sick in that organization and therefore productivity compromised. Holistic organizational wellness encourages resilience amongst employees. Thank you for the webinar. We really appreciate. Thanks, Topzile. Appreciate your comments. Farnes has also added a connection to WASA on the chat, and I think that's aimed at Haley and anybody else, obviously. Anina, thank you for your comment, and Claire. Are there any more questions? Otherwise, we are 1/4 the hour, so probably a good time to begin to wrap up. Thanks, Riet. Appreciate your comments. Thanks, Haley. All right, if we are done, no further questions. Oops, here comes a question from Elmarie. Elmarie asks, where in the 4-wheel system can the organization address inclusive employment regarding employees with disabilities? Who would like to take that from the panel?
That's a great question, and it really is actually in the organizational culture segment. If you want to look that, so Haley, the blue wheel should give some guidance there, but I think it's about a culture of inclusiveness that needs to be created long before specific environmental aspects around workstations, for example, should be addressed. So the blue wheel. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right, we've had a whole herd of thank yous. We appreciate the thanks, everybody. That's great to hear. And the fact that most people are still online is hopefully a vote of confidence in what WASA is doing. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day, and obviously go back to work for at least another 4 hours and then go home. Goodbye from all of us. Thank you to the panel, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.